Okay, we're just about ready to get started. Thanks everyone for joining. I welcome everyone to the first session of our series, Partnering with HUD on Affordable Housing, Best Practices for State Governments. This series is a collaborative effort between the Council of State Governments and the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we're grateful to HUD for this partnership. My name is Joseph Shivitz. I'm the Housing Policy Analyst for CSG East. And today we're focused on homeownership. The federal government and states are designing policies and programs to promote homeownership. We'll hear from HUD's subject experts and from the leadership at the Delaware State Housing Authority. My audio is, hopefully my audio improves. Sorry about that. But we'll hear from HUD subject experts and the leadership at Delaware State Housing Authority. We'll conclude with a Q&A discussion during which you can raise your hand to be unmuted or simply type in your question and we will pass that along. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Matt Heckles, HUD's Region 3 Administrator, who helped to put this series together and will give a brief introduction to today's session.
Well, or at least I hope so. Thank you, everyone. I was mentioning earlier, I'm on the road today. I'm in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and heading down to Gettysburg for a panel lecture this evening, and just really great to be a part of this. And I just want to start right off the top by thanking CSG, obviously, for partnering with us on this. HUD was batting around some ideas, and really everything came together once we brought you guys into the conversation. So thank you very much for that, and also to DSHA. It looks like you guys are the meaty part of the program today, and it's always good. For those of you who don't know, I spent about 12 years at DSHA when I had a little more hair and a little less gray in the beard. But it's always good to see you guys and share with the rest of this meeting the great things happening in Delaware. Do we have a sense of the other attendees who you're representing? I know that we sent this out to legislators and to I think some executive agency leadership.
That's correct. There's state legislators, housing agency officials from across the Northeast and even some other parts of the country, thanks to partners and other CSG offices.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. And maybe just for sort of posterity's sake, it would be interesting to see in the chat, and so we can continue to improve our our delivery here. Which your if you can't see that, Joe, then maybe that's the best way to sort of capture that information so we can continue to improve as we move forward. This is a series. This is something that we thought was important to put together, but we thought it would be way too much to try to get everyone's attention for too long. And so we thought the best way to go about that was to break this up into a series. So today we're talking about homeownership, but there are some other series, similar programs coming together over the next few weeks that hopefully will give you a wider view of all of the different programs that HUD does. So that might help us to hone this in a little bit better. So for the most part, I think that, we've thought about housing as a federal issue at the federal level and a local issue, skipping over a lot of what the state does. I think that that's a very, sort of HUD-centric view of how HUD delivers programs. For the most part, we're partnering with cities and counties and other entitlement jurisdictions, sometimes the state agencies for balance of state programs, and areas like CDBG and home, and of course our public housing authorities administer the public housing and tenant-based rental assistance programs. But for HUD, the state is sometimes a level of government that we skip. But it's really important, and I think more and more so as we all try to tackle the housing crisis that we're facing today, that we take an all-of-government approach, whether it's across federal agencies, from HUD to Treasury to EPA, for example, to increase the energy efficiency and climate resilience of our different properties. and then vertically from the federal to the state to the county to the local level, including our Public Housing Authority partners and other nonprofit and for-profit agencies that are also working with us. We're seeing more and more activity at the state level. Just last week, I was with Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, where he announced an initiative to create a strong housing plan moving forward. His understanding of the housing crisis in Pennsylvania and how his state agencies are working together to tackle that. So we're seeing more attention at the state level. Certainly, the state level structures change from one to the next. We have places like Delaware where DSHA is the Housing Finance Agency, also a public housing authority, also an entitlement jurisdiction. In Maryland, we were very much part of the state agency that did a lot of those same roles. But in Pennsylvania, the Housing Finance Agency is an independent board managed entity, and we have DCED that manages a lot of the state grant and CDBG and home type programs. So the structure at the state level is very different, but there's certainly more and more interest at the legislative level in housing and community development. And we wanted to acknowledge that role and support that growing interest across the different state legislative bodies in this region of the country. And so one of the ways that we thought we could engage with the different leadership at that level is to inform all of you about how HUD works, the programs that we have available. And the best way for us to do that is to bring in our HUD experts and program administrators, but also partners, and today you'll hear from DSHA, that are using those programs in different ways and highlighting some of the best practices. So that's why we're bringing this series to you in partnership with CSG, of course, and it's really our way of starting a relationship. The best way to start a relationship is to get an introduction, and that's what this series will do. We hope that it is a bridge between the state legislative bodies and HUD that will persist beyond this education piece. One of Acting Secretary Todman's #1 priorities moving forward here is to make HUD more accessible. And I can certainly appreciate that, again, with a nearly 20-year history of being in this industry, but looking out from the outside in at HUD and trying to figure out how to make it work for me has always been a challenge. And so we're trying to change that at HUD and make HUD more available through the programs, but also through other ways that you can access the department. So today we're talking specifically about homeownership, and there's certainly a lot of concerns around homeownership that we're trying to tackle at the federal level. We have not invested in housing broadly for the better part of several decades, and we haven't kept up with demand. That demand has also been exacerbated over the last few years through the pandemic, where people's wants and desires and ability to buy a home has changed. Most recently with interest rate increases, of course, but even just through the pandemic, people moved into less concentrated areas. They moved to different parts of the country because they could remote work, and so we're seeing a big shift in the housing market. Some of the best studies, I think, are showing that we're about 4 million units short of having our housing supply meet demand. And that's just the pure number. Within that, I think you see some even more dramatic dislocations of that supply and demand problem based on location, based on geography, and other factors that are causing certain areas to have a real stress on the housing supply. We haven't built starter homes, which is something that is a big problem for people starting off in families. We're looking at the federal level, of course, at down payment assistance programs, enhancing what the states and local entities are already doing in that area. But for us, it's about equity. It's about bridging the racial wealth gap, and supply is really the best answer for us moving forward on that side. We're going to continue to need to work together, though, because especially in homeownership, when you look at what the federal government can do, it's somewhat limited. We can put programs in place to create new units through building and preservation and innovation, but at the local level, zoning is controlled by sometimes at the municipal level. And so it's going to take a lot of work, including state legislative bodies and agency heads and the community more broadly, to get to yes, to get to an environment where we are saying, yes, we want housing built, and we want different kinds of housing built, and in good ways. I think we can do this in a way that preserves open spaces, that increases a good kind of density, creates mixed use and mixed income communities, and revitalizes our downtowns where we have a lot of supply that just isn't meeting the demand. And that respects, access and equity issues that we need to keep at the forefront too. So thank you very much again for your participation today, for being interested in housing. It seems like it's everybody's hobby lately. And I look forward to seeing folks as this series unfolds. And thank you again to CSG for helping us put all this together. Just know that HUD is here to support you with information, with access to our programs, to technical assistance. There are a lot of things that HUD can do to help support state agencies and legislative bodies moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Matt. Now we'll move into the first presentations. Adam, if you are ready.
I am ready, yes. Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be a part of this presentation, and I'm excited that so many people have shown up for this presentation. It looks like we have 71 in total, so I'm looking forward to the discussion, and I'm definitely looking forward to interacting with you folks as well. Hope to get a lot of interesting questions during the interactive portion of this. My position with HUD is I actually work in HUD's research office, the Office of Policy Development and Research. And within that, I am the director of the Housing Finance Analysis Division. We perform research on a variety of housing finance issues. But being a member of being part of HUD, we have a natural affinity working with the Federal Housing Administration. And one of the things that we do is we are the analytical support for development and implementation of their mortgage algorithm, also known as the total mortgage algorithm. And it was in that context that we worked on a particular recent HUD initiative or FHA initiative called Positive Rental History. And if we can go to the next slide, I would like to tell you a little bit more about positive rental history. So in 2020, HUD promulgated, or FHA introduced, the Positive Rental History Program for applicants who are seeking FHA insurance so that they can buy a home. And what this allows, it is a new tool. It gives an additional avenue for potential homeowners to access FHA insurance. And what it allows them to do is it allows them to meet a slightly lower threshold for the FHA insurance if they can document that they have a positive rental history, that they've paid their rent on time for the previous year, and that it's of a minimum amount of $300 to prevent us from giving credit to people who are perhaps living with relatives and paying only a nominal amount, where that wouldn't be a proof of a strong payment history. It also requires that the first-time applicant be a first-time home buyer. It's restricted to that population. Now, it also requires a minimum credit score of 620. We are following Fannie and Freddie, who introduced programs in 2001 and 2002 as well. So this is now something that's broadly based in the mortgage market. The reason we got involved in this program was that since we work on the mortgage algorithm and what it means to have a application that meets the credit attributes of FHA, we were brought in to analyze exactly how much credit should a borrower get for positive rental history. And we came up with a quantification of that, and that has been incorporated into the algorithm so that we can state with high confidence that by providing a lower threshold for those with positive rental history, we are not increasing risk to the FHA fund. And so we did that analysis initially, and we have also been involved in evaluation of the positive rental history. Now that it's been in existence for about a year and a half, we are monitoring its usage, and we have found that it is making a material difference in applicants for FHA insurance. Currently, about a little less than 1% of the endorsements for home purchases use the positive rental history and depend on the positive rental history aspect to qualify for FHA insurance. That may not seem like a large number, but in the context of hundreds of thousands of mortgage endorsed every year, it is a material amount, and it's critical for this targeted population of folks who may have thin or weak credit histories, but through their payment of rental history, they've shown that they can make payments, and that's really what it's all about when you're looking at credit. We have found that there is not a differential in at least early mortgage performance. We'll have to wait, of course, many years to determine whether or not there is any long-term impacts. But so far, we have detected no adverse consequences to FHA as a result of the positive rental history program. So for a targeted population, this can be a very important tool in that it'll get them over the hump and into qualification for FHA. I think it's a very exciting development. One takeaway that I'd like to underscore is that since there is a seasoning requirement that people have to have a year's worth of positive rental history, incorporation of this tool into home buying, education and counseling programs might be done early on in the process, so people that can start documenting their rental history and have that documentation ready for when they are ready to actually buy a home and apply for FHA insurance. They will have that on the record, and that will be a positive contribution to their application, and it may be what makes the difference in getting FHA insurance. So that's what I had to say about positive rental history. I am going to now pass the baton on to an FHA colleague who will tell us much more about what FHA is doing in the area of homeownership. So take it away, Mig.
Thanks, Adam, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and share with you what my office has been working on recently to improve our credit policies to expand affordable credit financing for homeownership. So my office, I am the director of the Home Mortgage Insurance Division with the Office of Single Family Program Development, is within the Office of Housing within FHA. My division is responsible for establishing the credit policies to insure mortgages for FHA. We are also responsible for implementing the processes in what happens when an FHA mortgage is insured. We provide technical assistance to the homeownership centers that are processing or reviewing some of these loans when there is no lender insurance. And obviously, we monitor the risk of these loans. We check up to see how they're doing. And Adam and his team is part of that. We ask them to help with that process. So moving on to the next slide, I'm really excited about this conversation because Matt actually provided the framework for the discussion that I have prepared for you today, because we have been mostly working on policies that address the two main issues that Matt laid out today, which is the challenges that for homeownership mostly has been access to affordable credit and the housing supply. So we at FHA, my office particularly, it's been looking at policies that address, that challenge. we have been reviewing and revising credit policies that no longer fit the current needs of the borrowers. And we are, with that in mind, we have updated our guidelines for rental income policies, for accessory dwelling units. We recently issued a mortgagee letter that expands our policies for the 203K rehabilitation mortgage. And we are also currently working on expanding our guidelines for working better with nonprofit organizations and also, government entities. Again, all this, the goal of this is to tackle the homeownership challenges that we are facing today. So moving on to the next slide, let's talk a little bit about the first item, which is the rental income for ADUs. So in the past, FHA has always financed a property with an accessory dwelling unit, but it would not allow the use of the rental income from that ADU to qualify for a mortgage. And there are places in the United States that are more welcoming to accessory dwelling units precisely to address the housing shortage. So we have been, we received the message that if we allowed the income or the potential income, the estimated income from that accessory dwelling unit to be used to qualify for an FHA loan, we would in fact be allowing that borrower to qualify for the mortgage. So we reviewed our policies and we review our appraisal guidelines so that potential income from an ADU can be used to qualify for an FHA mortgage. We issued that policy back last October. So we are still compiling data. We did update our systems to compile the data of how much ADU income any borrower that applies for an FHA mortgage using that ADU income is using to qualify. We're compiling that data to see how effective the policy is, but it was well received by the industry. So anybody that right now is using an ADU income to qualify can use up to 75% of that income, for example. If the ADU income is combined with an FHA 203K loan, then up to 50% of the estimated income can be used to qualify. For borrowers, FHA it's used mostly, not everyone, but mostly with first-time home buyers. They will not have a rental history, right? They will not have that rental history. So for those borrowers, to minimize the risk, we cap that ADU income up to 30% of the total housing income. So there are some risk mitigants that we put in place, which is also good because we want borrowers to have successful home ownership, right? So, but we still allow that, ADU income to be used to qualify. So this is positive because it encourages borrowers to invest in properties that have accessory dwelling units, thus increasing the housing availability of affordable housing. Our research found that ADUs usually rent at a lower market price than traditional rent. They're usually more informal arrangements, and they still provide affordable housing. Another update that we recently made to our policy is improvement to the 203K mortgage, which is moving on to the next slide. So this was just recent. We published this recently in July of this year. It was July 9th, just this summer. Our 203K rehabilitation programs is a program in which a home buyer can purchase a home and finance the rehabilitation cost at the same time. If it's a homeowner, they can refinance the property and includes the cost of improvements with the refinance. So that they can combine both. The 203K programs comes in two flavors, is what I call. It's a standard 203K program and the limited 203K program. The standard 203K program does not have a maximum rehabilitation cost amount. It does have a minimum of $5,000, but because it doesn't have a maximum rehabilitation cost amount, and the borrower can make structural changes to that property, meaning they can touch the foundation, columns, things like that. It requires the use of an FHA approved 203K consultant. This consultant will help the borrower make sure that they made the correct improvements. It guides the borrower through the rehabilitation process. It helps the borrowers work with contractors. Usually this standard program is for major rehabilitation work. The limited K program is for minor non-structural repairs. There is no minimum loan amount or total rehabilitation cost for the limited K, but in the past, the maximum was $35,000. And this is where we made the update. We increased it to $75,000. And the next slide is going to have more of the updates that we made. So here are the updates. So the limited K, which is the ones that most people use, again, because the 203K standard program is popular, but it is for major rehabilitation. Most borrowers that are buying a home are looking to make mostly cosmetic changes, update the kitchen, the bathroom, replace the floors. And our prior limit for the limited K program was $35,000. And I think we can all agree that you don't get a whole lot done for $35,000 today. So this program was underutilized, and we know that with the limited housing stock and with the aging housing stock in the United States, improving this program and making the changes to this program is necessary so we can incentivize borrowers and lenders to use this program. Now that this limit has been increased to $75,000, a 203K consultant is not required for the limited K. So a borrower doesn't have to use a 203K consultant. And they can, purchase a home and include up to $75,000 of the potential repairs into the loan. The other improvement that we made to this program is that the maximum repair period was 6 months. We received feedback from the industry that given the supply chain demands, the lack of professional, adequate contractors in the market, 6 months sometimes was not enough. And FHA would allow for extensions, but the process to get one, it could be difficult sometimes. So we expanded the rehabilitation period for the limited 203K to 9 months, and for the standard 203K to 12 months. Obviously, the standard 203K includes structural, more intensive rehabilitation. So that one we allow for a longer rehabilitation period. The other thing that we updated in the program, even though a 203K consultant is not required for the limited 203K program, because there's no, foundation or any major work to be completed, we are allowing the borrower to use a 203K consultant if they want to, and finance that consultant fee into the loan. So even though it's not required, a 203K consultant, if a borrower buys a home that needs rehabilitation and the total cost is $75,000, which falls within the limited K program, and they decide to hire a 203K consultant because they feel they need the help, they can do that, and they don't have to come up with the money out of pocket to pay for that consultant fee because they can finance those fees into the loan. We also improved the 203K consultant fee structure. That was another reason why the program was not working. The consultant fees the structure had not been updated since 1995. And none of us are operating in the 1999 and 1995 fees. So, we needed to update those fees to make the program, the FHA consultant program, attractive to consultants. We had issues with adding consultants to the roster, and some borrowers, even if they wanted to obtain a 203K loan, they couldn't find a consultant in 200 or 300 miles. So hopefully, with the increase in fees, we can bring consultants back into the 203K consultant roster, participate in the program, and help borrowers with the process of the rehabilitation. So we are really excited about these changes, and will hopefully, help with the aging housing stock and bring, this property back to life. Now, moving on to the next one, this is a really exciting slide because this is where, the excitement happens when you combine these two policies together. You have the ADU income policy that we updated. You can use that ADU income, and you have the 203K enhancements. You can use the 203K loan, the rehabilitation loan, to build an attached ADU. You cannot build a detached ADU with a 203K loan. It has to be an attached ADU. If there is already an existing detached ADU, that one can be remodeled, but it has to be existing. But you can build an attached ADU. You can finish a basement to make it another unit to rent, right? And generate income. And we can use that loan, and we can use the estimated income that ADU will generate to qualify for the loan. So this combination of these two policies updates, it's what we are hoping that when the market starts using it, will contribute to open the door for home buyers that are looking to buy, that are looking to get into the market as first-time home buyers, and perhaps starts to see the smaller home, the older homes as an opportunity to get into home ownership. So that's what we're trying to do. I understand, and we understand that ADUs, these policies are, the challenge sometimes comes, the local, state level policies, but we've heard from the industry that in many places this is changing precisely because they want to address the housing stock issue and to provide more accessible homeownership opportunities. So these are the other that we have. And the last slide that I have to discuss is how we collaborate with local governments, local housing agencies, to provide down payment assistance program, either through their housing finance agencies or through nonprofit organizations that work with housing finance agencies. We allow those programs to be used as a down payment for FHA loans. We are trying to improve the way we work with nonprofits to make it more accessible for them to become FHA approved and continue to provide that assistance, and to make that assistance more available and easier to get for potential home buyers. So that's the end of my presentation. Now, obviously, looking forward to the discussion at the end when we have the interactive section.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sure there will be questions. And I guess next up we have Claudia Brienza.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today, and really looking forward to discussing Housing Choice Voucher home ownership, and also known as Section 8. So my name is Claudia Brienza, and I am a Senior Housing Program Specialist for the Housing Voucher Management and Operations Division. Our office is located at HUD headquarters in DC, but I am outstationed in New Hampshire. Our division is responsible for working on Housing Choice Voucher program policies, and these policies include the HCV Homeownership Program. So if we move on to the next slide, we'll be able to go into a little bit of detail about homeownership, specifically Housing Choice Voucher, or like I said earlier, also known as Section 8 homeownership. Okay, so I figured that first I will be providing a high-level overview of the program, just for those who may not be familiar. If you are familiar, then this could be a little refresher, and let's just get into it. So the Housing Choice Voucher Program, Homeownership Program, allows public housing agencies or PHAs to make monthly housing assistance payments on behalf of eligible families who are low income and also first-time home buyers. And what this does is it allows to help for the PHAs to help them with their home ownership expenses, like mortgage, utilities, that sort of expense that homeowners incur. So this is an optional program for PHAs with an existing Housing Choice Voucher rental program. Like we said, it's optional. We are really trying to increase PHA participation. Right now we have very low utilization, so we're really working on revitalizing the program, promoting it, and we are also working on initiatives to encourage more PHAs to implement new programs, which I will be discussing coming forward in the presentation. So there's also no separate annual contributions contract between HUD and the PHA for homeownership vouchers. And there are no special voucher allocations set aside exclusively for homeownership. So what this means is that any PHA who chooses to implement the homeownership option can do so by contacting their HUD field office and updating the administrative plan policies. There's no special funding set aside for it, so the funding is already existing. So homeownership voucher assistance is tenant-based. What this means is that the families can select a home to purchase anywhere within the jurisdiction of the PHA. This program is available to families that are already participating in the rental program and also to new families coming fresh off the waiting list. So once a person gets selected to receive their their Section 8 assistance, if a PHA has the program, they may elect to take this voucher and rent a unit, or they may elect to purchase a home, which is great. So there's also eligibility criteria, and the family must meet your PHA's eligibility criteria, so meaning your local housing authority or housing agency. And then they will need to also qualify for a mortgage loan. They must complete a homeownership counseling program by a HUD-certified housing counselor. Working with a HUD-certified housing counselor can help families determine how much loan, how much mortgage they can receive, and how much they can afford. And it also helps them to gain great skills to become successful homeowners. So the PHA will likely have a very significant role in helping a family find receptive lenders and also to have strong partnerships with local agencies that are also looking to support the home buying process. We always encourage PHAs to build relationships with their communities, with lenders, with community development entities where they can make better use so that they can provide more support for their participants and making the home buying process a little bit more streamlined, a little bit easier for them, as it is already a very stressful process. So we try to encourage PHAs to make it a little bit more seamless. All right, so other requirements include the unit must be owner occupied. 2 inspections are required. So the first inspection is a Housing Quality Standards or HQS inspection, which is conducted by the PHA. And this inspection is set to determine that the home is safe and sanitary. And the second inspection is an independent inspection paid by the family and conducted by an independent home inspection company. This usually happens after the initial PHA inspects the home and gives them a thumbs up to move forward, so that they don't, because they have to pay out of pocket for the second inspection. And this is a protective mechanism for the family not to have to pay for an inspection of a home that would not be suitable at the end of when it comes to homeownership assistance. Like I said earlier, so the unit must be within the PHA's jurisdiction, or the family may choose to use portability to use their voucher in a different area where a PHA who has an existing homeownership program is accepting new applicants. So this is very exciting because they, if they're unable to find a home within that area due to affordability, or if they would like to move to a different part of the area just to be for family or for schools, they may be able to employ portability and move to a different area. So that's very exciting for the, that's also an option within the rental program, but this is extended to homeownership. And we can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, HUD is really working. We are working on some really exciting housing choice voucher homeownership activities and initiatives. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of what we've been working on, and there will be contact information at the end. If you'd like to participate in any of these activities moving forward, you can reach out to us, but I'll give you that information later on. All right, so what we're looking to do is we want to promote and revitalize the program and encourage more PHA participation. So one of the first steps we took was we increased the administrative fee from $200 to $1,500 per closing. The administrative fee is a fee paid by HUD to the PHAs to administer the program. As you can see, this is a very good increase, and hopefully this is going to be an incentive for more PHAs to have a higher number of closings and move the program along. HUD will also fund a one-time $2,500 special fee for every new homeownership program at any PHA within calendar year 2024. I believe this is going to be extended for calendar year 2025, but I don't have exact dates right now, so more information is forthcoming. We formed a very exciting committee. We formed the Keys to Homeownership Committee. So this is really a platform to engage PHAs and industry stakeholders who are interested in elevating housing choice voucher home ownership. We meet quarterly and we focus on addressing challenges, reducing common barriers that they come to the table with, and we also share best practices. So many PHAs join the call, mortgage lenders, realtors, housing counselors, and we encourage anyone who wants to participate to join our committee. We also established an internal HUD housing choice voucher homeownership working group. So the objective of our working group is to expand program visibility. We work really hard to do that, to revitalize and promote homeownership through updated communication materials, which we post on our websites and we shared at our convenings and our committee meetings. And another exciting event that we are planning is we are hosting a large national homeownership convening. This is going to be a virtual meeting. It's scheduled for mid-November. So there will be a few presentation panels of different federal partners. We will be sharing best practices, and some of the participants include HUD's Office of Housing Counseling. We are looking to also include the HUD Office of Single Family Housing, FHFA, which could include Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And mainly, this is really geared towards PHAs and other stakeholders. It's going to be broken up into 2-day sessions. The first day is going to be for PHAs who don't have a homeownership program yet or are looking to improve their existing program and to grow it and grow participation. And then the second day will be structured to provide information for those PHAs that have a robust program and want to, maybe do some different things or learn some other steps, talk to lenders, get some good insight. And lastly, another very exciting update is that HUD has added a new proposed rule to our regulatory agenda. The name of the rule is Promoting Success in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So this is really exciting because I'm not sure that I mentioned it earlier, but there is a term limit on homeownership assistance, and families can only participate in the program for no more than 15 years. So you can imagine that is a concern for many many people going from rental assistance to homeownership assistance, where there is no limit for regular rental assistance. Now they're going into a program where, potentially in 15 years, they will have no help. So what this rule will do, and what it does, is this rule proposes to extend the term limit from 15 years to 30 years. So this will help to better align with the length of 30-year mortgages. And also please note that the term limit does not apply to elderly or disabled families. So that's a good thing.
Claudia, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know we are running out of time. We do need to switch over just a little bit. I just want to give you a little bit of a 2-minute kind of. Sorry about that.
Absolutely, no worries. That's okay. We can just move on to the next slide. Thank you. All right, so this is this is a visual representation of homeownership vouchers within with the areas highlighted in blue, represent regions 1, 2, and 3. Now there are homeownership programs in the gray states as well, but just for the purpose of today's presentation, we wanted to focus on regions 1, 2, and 3 only. With over 2.2 million housing choice rental vouchers, we only have 9,629 of those vouchers that are being used for homeownership nationwide. So, as you can imagine, there's so much opportunity here for PHAs and for households to take advantage and to achieve the dream of owning a home and creating generational wealth that, we all want to participate in. So we would like to encourage legislators to support more down payment assistance programs within your regions, as multiple funding sources for down payment assistance promote affordability, mainly affordability in high cost areas, and also it provides participants with more choices. So I will move on to the next slide, please. All right, so for homeownership resources, please visit our homeownership at HUD Exchange and also our website, both linked on the slide. You can also email us at hcvhomeownership@hud.gov. If you would like to be part of the Keys to Homeownership Committee, or if you want some more information, feel free to email us and we'll be able to hopefully answer your questions. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for your time today and for listening to me.
Claudia, thank you so much for that. And again, sorry to rush. Just want to make sure we have some time for DSHA. So let me go ahead and flip over those, switch over the slides, and we will get started here in just a minute.
Joe, while you're setting up, do you mind if I just introduce our team?
Oh, that would be perfect. That would be perfect.
Oh, great. Thank you, Joe. No, I appreciate you staying on track, and I really appreciated the presentations today. I've been writing down a lot of notes, and thank you to CSG and HUD for having us. Matt started the presentations by talking about partnerships, and DSHA really strives to attract our lenders, our realtors, housing counselors, and others to bring home buyer resources to our home buyers. And it's my pleasure. I think we have two of the best in the business. Brian Rossello is our Director of Housing Finance, and Megan Faries is our Housing Finance Administrator. This is one arm of DSHA's business. We are the Housing Finance Agency for the state of Delaware. We are the Community Development Agency, and of course, we're the Public Housing Authority. Joe, I have some speaking points on DSHA, but just out of respect for everybody's time, I want to hand it over to Megan and Brian and let them dive into the content of the presentation today. So Brian, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thanks, Cynthia. And I too am going to go a little fast because I know there's going to be a lot of good questions that came out, some of that exciting information from the panelists preceding us from HUD. So if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, here we go. So we'll go back one quick slide, Joe. Just a little bit about DSHA. We do not directly lend. We partner, as Cynthia mentioned, with local lenders, local realtors. So we're out in the market every day trying to hear what the needs are of Delawareans. And with that, we develop a lot of programs. We offer down payment closing cost assistance. We offer below market rate interest mortgage loans. And one of the ways we get to do that is one of our unique structures at DSHA is we're allowed to issue tax-exempt financing. So DSHA accesses capital through the open market, through partnering with large financial institutions to help us raise capital to provide down payment, closing cost assistance, as well as going to the bond market. Delaware has been in the market 3 times, working on a 4th time this year since January, for about a total of $375 million already out on the street. And we have been able to help. Megan's going to go through some of the families we've been able to help, and I'm going to turn it to her so she can talk about a little bit about some of the programs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for having us today. So as Brian and Cynthia said, for respect of everyone's time, I'm just going to kind of go through these very quickly. Any questions, we have our contact information in the slides. Please contact us afterwards. So here at DSHA, we offer two homeownership loan programs. Welcome Home is our tax-exempt bond financing program, which is designed for first-time home buyers. In this program, we offer below market interest rates. And we have our Home Again program. This is designed for first-time home buyers who do not meet income limits of the Welcome Home and repeat home buyers. We provide unassisted and down payment and closing cost assistance programs under both of these programs. And I'll kind of go into that a little more later. Our loans that provide down payment and closing cost assistance are in the form of a second mortgage with 0 interest and no monthly payment requirement. Joe, we can go to the next slide, please. Every year, we have income limits that are set by the IRS. We have income limits that are applicable to our Welcome Home program, which again is for first-time home buyers. These limits are determined by the county that the borrower is purchasing a home in, and then also how many individuals are occupying the property. We qualify on household income limits. And those limits are set by anybody 18 years and older who receive income at time of application. For Welcome Home, the income limits for a 1 to 2 family person household in Newcastle County is $114,700. 3+ is $131,905, and Kenton, Sussex is $106,300 for 1 to 2 person, and $122,245 for a 3+ person household. For Home Again, those limits are slightly higher. Again, for a 1 to 2 person household, we're looking at $137,640 for Newcastle County and $172,050 for 3 person. Kenton, Sussex is $127,560 and $159,450 for a 3+ person household. We also have sales price limits that the borrower must meet when purchasing a property in the specific county. For Newcastle County, that's $571,946, and for Kent and Sussex, that's $510,939. So now I'm going to just talk briefly about some of the programs that we offer. Smart Start is a first mortgage loan that is unassisted. We offer that at below market rates, and it is available under both our Welcome Home and Home Again product. Next slide, please, Joe. Delaware Diamonds. This is a second mortgage in the amount of $10,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. This is a forgivable loan over 10 years, and certain professions are eligible for this program. Those professions include those employed by the 7 major hospitals in the state of Delaware, school employees, veterans, active military, state employees, and DSHA employees. This program is available for both Welcome Home and Home Again products. And we have our First State Home Loan. Again, this is a second mortgage with 0% interest. It provides 3% of the final loan amount in down payment and closing cost assistance. It is available for both Welcome Home and Home Again products. The payment is deferred until the borrower refinances, sells the property, transfers the title, or the property is no longer the borrower's primary residence. And the last program that we are very excited about, this is our newest program that we have rolled out. It's going to touch on some of the things that we were discussing earlier regarding the FHA limited program. So it's meant to help those who want a home that need minor repair. The borrower must qualify for the FHA 203K limited loan program, and DSHA will provide 5% of the loan amount in down payment and closing cost assistance in the form of a second mortgage at 0% interest. As mentioned earlier, we are really excited that FHA has increased the renovation amount from $35,000 to $75,000. We will see this increase effective November. We feel that this will really assist homebuyers in making a house a home that they really love and being able to go in there and make all the repairs that they love. Again, just like our first date, payment is deferred until the borrower refinances, sells the property, or property is no longer the borrower's primary residence. And on the last slide, Joe, you will find all of our contact information. So again, I know we kind of flew through this, but if any questions come up, if you would like more information, please reach out. We are very happy to help. And thank you again for having us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that. We do have some time still available. We were planning to go till around 3:45. So if anybody in the audience does have questions, feel free to raise your hand. We can unmute you, or if you want to put your questions in the chat or the Q&A for either HUD or DSHA. Anything you've heard in these presentations, please go ahead. We can continue the discussion for a little while.
Hey, Joe, I did put a question in the chat, but I'm glad to read it as well. But I was just wondering if HUD could share what type of volume they're seeing with the 203K, and if they're seeing any positive lender feedback or best practices on how that product is hitting the market. We see, as Megan explained, that diamond in the rough. We see that as a great opportunity to address some of our aging housing stock, making homeownership a little bit more affordable, more accessible, and also providing opportunity for renovations that increase accessibility for families who may need that. So let me turn it over to you, and thank you for the response.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and here and pull the report so I can give you accurate numbers. So first, the 203K has been seriously underutilized over the past few years, mainly for the reasons that I mentioned. Borrowers prefer the limited K program due to the less requirements that they have to meet. And $35,000 limit was just not enough to cover for the cosmetic renovations that we do today. So in fiscal year, year-to-date fiscal year 24, we've only endorsed almost 3,400 203Ks. Now, the ML, the mortgagee letter, was issued in July of this year. The changes do not become effective until November of this year, on November 4th. So we obviously have not been able to gauge the effectiveness of this new policies. The reason why it doesn't become effective until then is because FHA systems as well as lender systems have 203K calculators. They have to enter the loan amount, the appraisal value. There's an after improved appraisal value, the cost of improvement, and other items to calculate the loans. So there are system changes that have to happen at FHA, and there are system changes that lenders may have to make. So we give the industry some time to make those changes, and also to make the changes within their policies and AUS systems to adapt the new policy. So we'll have a better idea, perhaps mid next year, of how that's going. We ourselves see a great potential for this policy moving forward as well. It's a combination of both improving the policies and revising the fee structure for the 203K consultants that, frankly, the fees were extremely low for them to participate in the program.
Migdaliz, I think this next question is also for you. It comes from Marian Joyce from the Q&A. She's saying, is any funding available to existing homeowners to add an ADU or rehab an existing home to enable them to continue to stay in their homes? DSHA, feel free to weigh in on that as well, of course.
So from the FHA perspective, because we provide FHA insured mortgages, that availability will become in the forms of refinancing the property. If they are the homeowners and they have equity, then they will be able to refinance the property to add an ADU, and to add an ADU that is attached to the property, or to finish a basement, for example, and make that an ADU, and they can use up to 50% of the estimated ADU income to qualify for the mortgage. Yes, that can be done. Yes.
Jordan Day, I see your hand raised. If see, are you able to? You should be able to turn your microphone on, and if you want to ask your question.
Thank you. I'm glad that I was able to ask that the question right as a follow-up, because I had a specific question about why the requirement for ADUs is that they must be attached, and why detached units were allowed for anything that's previously existing, because I know that we just passed state law encouraging people to have detached units. Yeah. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So that is actually a statutory requirement. We are also, wonder why. It in the statute, it's just a single family structure, and it's it is in the statute the way it is written. That's why it's a requirement that is attached. This is a big priority for us. We do understand that we need to work with this, and it's something that we're looking at it, but it's a statutory requirement.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Speakman, I just see you have your hand raised if you have a question. Need to unmute your own microphone.
Okay.
Yep.
How's that? Is that done?
We hear you.
Okay. Following up on my colleague Jordan's question, can you give us the reference for the statute so maybe we can work with our federal delegation to get that changed?
Yes. Can I follow up with that and to just look at it specifically and send it to you through the state council? Yeah.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Next, I saw Susan Bookout. If you have a question, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, thank you very much. I'm probably the only person on this call that is a state agency. I actually work with a local nonprofit, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and we deal with people every single day that are paying exorbitant rents, $1,600 a month. And I have to believe that we could get these people out and probably get them into a home where they're not going to live paycheck to paycheck. So it's probably directed more towards the Delaware State Housing Authority folks, since that's where I'm operating out of. And I'm happy to take this conversation offline and create, set up another meeting. But I'm really, when people call 211, 211's telling them to call us. And we can't exist. We're poor box funded. We're happy to direct them to whatever is the appropriate agency. But there's a very, very big disconnect, in my opinion, from what the state agencies are doing. No disrespect to the federal agencies, et cetera, or our state agency, and the boots that are on the ground that are trying to get people into housing. I didn't hear where we're addressing that there's such a significant lack of housing. I mean, I don't know what to do. So just looking for some thoughts on where we direct them, especially again with these exorbitant rents and things that maybe if we got them into a home, they would be better off. But then there's a whole education of how to care for a home. Folks that have lived in rental properties don't know about cutting grass. I mean, I'm trying to keep it as basic as I can possibly can, but there's things that are in a home that require maintenance. Are we following up with these people to ensure that they are having a successful home ownership when we actually put them into something that they've never experienced before? Sorry, long question.
No, Joe, can I take a stab at that? Oh, thank you. And Susan, thank you for your question. So I have, I think, 3 topics just to touch on. So our agency are huge supporters of the HUD-approved housing counseling agencies and the home inspectors. It helps set that, especially new home buyers, up for success. So I just want to throw that out there. That is a great resource. We have several agencies throughout Delaware that provide HUD-approved housing counseling or financial education. It's a start. So that helps the home buyer not only get into the home, buy the home, but have a resource if they do face any issues going forward. I will say, Susan, I do want my contact information's at the end of our slide. Please don't hesitate to reach out so we can talk a little bit more about some of our programs. But one big piece that Delaware is working on is our Affordable Housing Production Task Force. So we have brought together industry experts, families and individuals from the community who represent veterans, seniors, persons with disabilities, families facing homelessness. And we're coming together as a state to talk about recommendations for approving the supply of housing. So it's a huge lift here in Delaware, but we are spearheading this conversation. And our expectation is at the top of the year, March 2025, that we have recommendations that we can present to local, state, and other government agencies, but also the nonprofit and for-profit community. So, Susan, I hear your question. I agree with the need, and I think our state is one of those that we're small, but we're mighty, so we can get together and come up with some solutions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll look for your contact if you want to call or email.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'll just quickly add to that this is the first of 5 sessions that we're doing. So we'll have a session on development and hear about how other states are tackling that issue. But we have time for a couple more questions. I see Rahim Key. I'll go ahead if you want to unmute and ask your question. And then Medina Brown.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm a first-time home buyer. I moved over here in 2021, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to rent my house out through Section 8 and purchase another home. But the only problem I'm having is me trying to I applied for the programs for me to get my windows fixed. Only need like 5 window fixed so it can pass inspection, and I can't find no help over here. I can't find no assistance or nothing for me to just get my windows repaired so it can pass inspection for me to rent my house out and move out of Newcastle, because I'm a single father. My daughter's autistic, and I'm trying to move her out of the city in a better environment than us living in Wilmington. So my question is, do you have any type of programs that can assist me to help me get my windows repaired so I can list my house for rent through Section 8 and move forward?
Anyone from
So,
Delaware?
Mr. Key, I'll be glad to try to tackle it with you maybe offline. I'm not aware of any particular programs that we have right now for investment properties for rehabilitation, but I'll be glad to see and take your information and see if we can help you if there's any other organization that can potentially have anything out there for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Medina, if you want to go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Hold on one second. I think I don't want the fan to block anything. Thank you for taking my question. I wanted to ask, I'm actually a homeowner as well, and I wanted to ask, as far as the second home, um, the FHA loan that is provided, or is a home again, second, I guess that's what it's called.
Yep.
I was trying to find out because I believe I didn't do the first time homebuyers program. I wish I did do it, but I didn't do the first time homebuyers program and I missed out on some things. So I didn't want to go through this again without having you guys work with. And I wanted to know, is it possible to own a multifamily property as a second mortgage and actually live in that property?
So yes, if you're going to be using the property as one of the units of your primary residence, you can own up to a 4-unit property with our programs.
Okay, so with the second purchase of the second home, I can have a multifamily unit with going to the first.
That will become the home you purchase with us will become your primary home. So it wouldn't be considered a second home, but you would be living in that home, that one of those units as your primary residence. You can have up to a 4-unit property. The home that you existingly have, that is your current home, would become your second home. This will become your primary home. And it's up to the lien holder that you have, whether it's FHA, VA, conventional, if they allow you to keep that mortgage that you currently have and not as a primary residence. So you want to check with your existing servicer as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any final questions before we wrap up? Not seeing any. I just want to extend a big thank you to all of our speakers at HUD and at the Delaware State Housing Authority. We appreciate all of your insights and your work on improving access to affordable housing. I want to thank all of our attendees for your interest and also for engaging with us on this issue. We do have 4 more sessions coming up in this series. The next is on September 24th. On preservation, we'll have HUD and the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development. If you have any questions or need the slides or contact information or anything, feel free to reach out to us at CSG East. We'll try to connect you. But thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.